What do you do when you are struggling to convert your audience into clients, even if you think they are your sole clients? Today, I'm going to look at 6 areas that you should look at more closely and more specifically. Um, from often a variety of angles to help you identify why you may not be converting your audience into leads, or your audience, more importantly, into conversions into clients or paying customers. So the first one is often, obviously, the most obvious, is about number one, is all about alignment. And I sometimes think that when we talk about alignment, sometimes when I'm talking to particularly new healers and new coaches or therapists, they are very basic in the way that they look at alignment. But when I look at alignment, I look at alignment not just about your vibration and about your offerings, but the energy of the unconscious things that you bring to the table, the things that you often don't even recognize, the things that are going to make you attractable to a certain type of client and maybe not another client. There are the subtle differences because of course, there is some products and services that people are looking for a certain level of solution, right? And a certain thing, and they can become more and more niche. And the easiest way to explain it is, like, for example, when many healers begin their journey, they start with certain modalities, foundational modalities, and they are the start of their role. So a lot of people, use and know lots of modalities like massage, aromatherapy, Reiki, Indian head massage. These are all reflexology. These are very common, well-known like therapies, right? And healing modalities. And there is other healing modalities as you go, you work and you go along your path. You might change and do other things that are more refined or more advanced or work very differently. And there is some types of products and services that have a shelf life, and they are more faddy. So they have a certain period where they're more fashionable, or they just come out and people are interested. And there's some that remain foundational. But there's other things that only a certain amount of people will do because maybe they're working their way up. It's like we all go to nursery or school, some sort of form of education. But there is only so many people that go to college or university, and then there's so many people only go and do a PhD. It's like that. There is certain pathways, and some people choose to stay at a certain level, and then other people move forward. When we're talking about alignment, of course, that has to come into the equation. But also, what has to come into the equation is the other aspects that you are offering, particularly if you're online. And why I'm saying online, if you're offering, for example, a coaching program or a healing or therapy program, there are certain basics that you have to get right. Obviously, if you're offering a coaching program, it has to be a coaching program. I see so many people say someone's coaching and it's actually not coaching because they're not actually trained as a coach, or they've only done a fast track coach. So we've got, these are basics. So you can get client disappointment right away when someone starts something and it turns out not to be exactly what it said in the label. Or when people start reading something, it doesn't match with the type. These are all basics. But on another level, there is, why do people, if you have, say, 5 massage therapists in one area and 5 coaches, what will make a certain paper, if they all do the same type of topic and even solution, what's going to make one person go to one specific person than another? Well, things like, obviously, reputation, testimonials can help. But often there's the more subtle aspect of the energy, and not just in relation to someone having a higher vibration. Of course, the more they're a higher vibration, that is going to attract people and there're going to be more of them. But it can be to do with personal traits and qualities, and that's why archetypes, I believe archetypes are very powerful in helping people understand themselves and understand their business. So alignment is to do with what you're offering, the solution you're offering, the level that you offer that at, and the other things that come with that. Alignment has to always match what that person wants and expects, right? Because if there's a mismatch, then you've got a problem. And one of the biggest challenges that can happen when we enter, again, the coaching, healing, or therapy industry, some things, the way that they're taught, can actually, in a way, lead us up the garden path and make us have a lot of assumptions. But the reality is, every individual has an individual path, and what is going to feel aligned to them may be different from someone else. And it's important that when we work with people, that they have a choice and they choose what's right for them. It's easy for people to always think that they know always what's best for the client, but it's about empowerment, right? And it's about helping the soul choose what is right for them. So that's really important. I know it might sound like a basic, but believe me, I've met so many people that have missed this basic because of their own insecurities. So the easiest way I can explain that, you could have a friend that did some type of healing therapy or coaching, but for so many reasons, they might not be the right client, or for you, they might, a person for you, or, there is so, we can be a mismatch. That's what I mean. There can be a mismatch between us, because also it's not a good idea often, if you're a coach, healer, therapist, to ever be working on like family, friends. It's okay for experience and building up things, but if you're actually really taking them on as a client, very hard to be objective. So just because someone's your friend, you shouldn't ever assume that they should come to you for whatever, right? It's about them choosing what feels is going to be the best for them, right? And that's about us getting out of our ego. And if we totally want to run a soul-aligned business, it's about understanding that it's best, it's always what's best for the person, not about us, right? So that's a big, big, important lesson, right? And the wounded healer can get in there and, create all sorts of things there, but it's about alignment, and alignment can mean lots and lots of things. And just because you offer, for example, a solution for a problem and you see someone with that problem, doesn't automatically mean that you are the perfect person for them. You may be, and maybe there is other things that you have to do to nurture that. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But it's important to understand that first and foremost, it's always about alignment, and alignment means a lot of different things. Okay. Second one, nurturing. Part of marketing and building a business is nurturing your audience. What does nurturing mean? Well, nurturing is like building that connection, building that support. It's building trust, right? And if you're a coach, healer, or therapist, particularly, that is vital. And some people are just ready to buy and they just know what they're looking for, and that's it. But most people need to be influenced to and educated and feel safe and secure that what you're offering, the way you offer it, and how you do it, like your skills and experience, the way that you do it, is a perfect match for them. Today, no matter what people say, there is a mass amount of people selling spiritual products and services, and not everyone is doing it for how could you say spiritual reasons, right? A lot of people are now into the sector and have for a while into the sector because they just see it as a way to make money. I'll give you an example. I was in a group the other day and someone came in anonymously and said, can you make, is it easy to make 20K a month as a spiritual coach? Because I'm only interested in doing this work if that's what and I can make it right away. And that was the message. And then what alarmed me was the other messages, of course, and it was really just about focusing on what that person could make. There was no question of what the person's skill set, what they were offering. There was nothing of that. And this is where we're seeing a lot of that. And I find that in a way a little bit alarming, but that's me. But it's important to nurture your audience. You're building a connection, you're building trust, and they get a chance to see if you're a right fit, particularly if you want to expect people to invest, for example, in a long-term product or service, or you're charging maybe well above average, or they've to make a certain amount of investment, right? It's not just, it's not just like pocket money, it's more than that. It's important that the person wants to know that their investment is going to be match what their expectations are. And yes, sometimes people are very naive. They have a naive expectation of certain things. There's not things that they've considered. They may not realise that the thing that they want solved, there is something else that needs to be solved first. There's something else that needs to be looked at. There's lots of reasons. Of course, that's fundamental. But you have to be able to nurture them. And a good customer pathway helps you nurture that audience. And that's why one of the reasons I still believe in good lead magnets, and lead magnets that are valuable, lead magnets that bring the audience in a way that is easy for them. I have met some people that in the holistic, the spiritual community, and understand where they come from, and they don't agree with lead magnets, and they will say, people want free resources. The free resources are there. They don't have to sign up. I have lots of free resources. I have 3 different I've actually 4 websites, but if I look at my 3 main ones, between them, there's at least 300 or 400 blogs. I've got hundreds of videos, right? So there's an example of lots of free resources, but I also have lead magnets, and there's reasons why. Because a lead magnet is like a path that you're taking them deliberately on. So that if you know that a client has a particular issue and they want solved, but they will have certain doubts. But also there's maybe other things that they haven't thought about that's really, really important when they get it solved. A lead magnet done the right way can help educate them and help them experience and taste some of your work so that they can feel more confident that you may be the right person, or it maybe makes them understand maybe if you aren't the right fit for whatever reason, because you're educating them why you do things a certain way, or you let them experience something. And when someone signs up in a lead magnet, sign up lead magnet, they often, for example, I'll give you one that I always suggest to a lot of my audience. And for example, like a 5-day video series, a wee short bite-sized 5-day video series. When you do that, you have the opportunity for people to be able to just get a little bite-sized nuggets. It's not too much for them over a certain period of time. And we all know that sometimes we intend to watch a video, read a blog, but we get interrupted, have got something else to do, and we need reminder. And automation, an automated 5-day video series is a great way, because the person gets the automated emails, it's in their inbox, and even if they don't manage that day, they can watch the next day, and it's in bite-sized chunks. And you have a longer period to nurture, to help educate them why a certain maybe tool or product or something that you're offering is maybe effective for something, and why you approach it a certain way, and get a feel for you. Okay, really, really important. And the third one Yep, okay. It's about having a clear message of what you're offering. Actually, that should have been two, but that's okay. You always have to have a clear message. So your marketing branding has to be clear who your ideal clients are, your soul clients are, and what solution you offer. And it has to be done in a way that it also will make it clear who maybe it's not really for. And, so sometimes it's just changing the words. And for example, I'm very specific. I'm moving in one area of my business where I'm accumulating a lot of years of experience and insight to help um, more what I would call light workers, experienced awakening healers, coaches, and therapists, and even maybe awakening businesses who really want to take their mission to a whole new level, but want to learn maybe more empowering tools, more advanced tools, and want to get really connected to the soul, really connected to their spiritual guidance, feel more empowered, more confident in the next step of their mission. So I'm using specific words that actually might put off or will not feel aligned to other people that at the beginning ages of their journey who maybe don't feel that way, who don't have a certain level of experience, or maybe don't see themselves that way. So, because my audience for that work is very specific, because there's a lot of things that I teach that I know can be too much for people at certain stages in their journey. And I offer other courses, and and another side of my business, which a lot of it I'm moving away from. And even some of it will still be self-study, but working one-to-one, that is a completely different type of client I'm working with. I'm working with someone that's been in the healing industry 20, 30 years full time, and they've worked with many healing modalities and certain things, and they just want to take their step up. That's very different with someone that's been maybe only doing a few hours a week part time for a few years, or is just at the early stage of their journey. That's a very extreme difference. So the wording and the vocabulary is going to be very different. The energy is going to be very different. So it's really important that my messaging is clear. And sometimes even I get stuck. Sometimes when we're so close to the situation, we can't see the wood for the trees because we are in that situation where someone else can help us be a wee bit more objective, right? But it's important that we get a message as clear as possible. I do understand that a lot of us in the spiritual community are making big leaps in our own awakening and ascension, and some of even what we're doing, it can be hard to explain to people, and sometimes getting that message in, it's just getting your head around that and getting into that can be a process in itself. But it's so important that you're looking at the solution. If you don't understand the solution that you offer your audience, you don't have a business, because you're not actually showing and demonstrating that you can help them in an area, right? And helping also is a word that you have to be careful, because sometimes I hear people saying to me, I help people. I'll say, but how do you help? What kind of results? What can I help? What does that actually mean? Because help could mean that you make someone just feel a little bit better. And most people, that's maybe, what does that mean? 1% better, 5%, or more empowered, more strong, more ready to do this, or that they will have resolved something. It's so important. We have to start focusing. If you don't understand and can't see that, often it's to do with, understanding your niche enough or your skill set enough. You maybe can't see where your gifts are, right? Because usually there is something you maybe just can't see. So the next one is, delivery of how you deliver your products and service. So sometimes people don't think about this, but sometimes an uptake in your products and services can be how you deliver something, right? How it's delivered, maybe when you deliver it, all that kind of thing. But let's look at how you deliver it. So, for example, I'm quite an independent person. For example, and a lot of clients can be like this, some people are not, where I like to do some things I'll take part in, but some things, there's some types of things I like to work on my own, because I'm quite a motivated person, but obviously I like to have the support, and I preferred maybe investing in a one-to-one often than maybe group coaching programs. I don't like where people say small groups and then the next thing you've got 50 and 100 in a group and you don't really have a chance to really get the one-to-one support that you really need. I'm not that type of person, particularly now the way that I work. So we're all different. So it's understanding what your client wants and needs and how it's delivered. It also could be how it's on, like, for example, I provide for my clients on New Zealand. I've used lots of different platforms like Teachable, Thinkific, lots of things, and I now use New Zealand. So people can go in and have it, and it's done in a certain professional way. But I've also invested in things and paid quite a bit of money. And the way that it was delivered was like a dog's dinner. The leaflets looked like a child had done it, and the text, the wording was really. Now I'm not the greatest. I make grammar mistakes. I'm not. Sometimes make slight spelling mistakes. But this was really, it was almost ineligible. And the person had charged quite a lot for what they had charged. I felt that I was disappointed with the delivery of it, the way it was delivered. Now, delivery can mean how it's presented, how the teaching style, right? It can be the delivery, where it's delivered. Is it delivered physically? Is it delivered online? Or is it delivered in a group? All these I'll give you an example. I remember having a session with someone and they'd done the one-to-one session. This was before you had, it was just a normal Facebook Messenger. It wasn't before you had these little chat things or meeting things. And this person was walking her dogs and decided just to give me an inner child healing session through Facebook Messenger. And I paid a lot of money for this. And it felt walking her dogs, doing it through a Facebook Messenger did not feel valued, did not feel safe. To me, she missed the fundamental basics about what inner child work was. The delivery was not suitable for me. And I just felt I was not getting value for money. It just felt about making the money and keeping it cheap, and not just cheap as possible. It was like her trying to utilize her time. And to me, she was a lovely person, but she missed some really important aspects that actually created mistrust in her products and services. Okay, so that's an example. Perceived value. Perceived value, we always have to consider how we present what we're offering and helping the audience understand the perceived value. Sometimes I have to be honest, I'm a wee bit lazy with that. I don't go into all the advantages and all the benefits, and I sometimes miss it because I take for granted so many the advantages and benefits, and I find that with a lot of people that are very, very experienced. They've been in the industry so long that they take for granted the amount of benefits of the product and service, where a lot of newbies sometimes over exaggerate or over emphasize, if that makes sense. Benefits are so important, and when you understand the benefits, it's about helping your audience see the perceived value. Now, they're going to still, it's always about their perception, but the more that you can help them understand why your product and service has a certain value, right? And why it's a certain price point, and make them understand of its value, that's going to make a difference. But remember, it's perceived value. I've had situations, and one example I've used quite a few times, and I'll use again because it's a good reminder. I had someone who just done a beta test for me. It wasn't somebody I knew. It was a group where you could advertise if you were looking for a beta test. And I thought, I'll just put it out there. It would be good to have someone else that's never done any of my programs before. And this person was a new coach. She didn't have much experience. She didn't have much training. And what she was offering, all I'm going to say is what she was actually offering in her package was basically a kind of replica of a course that commonly goes for free, right? But she wanted to charge quite a bit, and that's up to her. She has to decide that. But what was interesting, even though she got that, and she got another, I think another couple of products off me to be a test for me. And she had said to me that I gave her a rough idea of what I was going to put it out. And I knew what I was going to put it out would be still a beta early offer. It was, the perceived value for most people would be a lot of money. And the things that were included in this was things that cost me thousands of pounds and many years to master, to get it more refined, to save people time. And I remember her saying, no, it should be really cheap and it should be this. And it was like she was telling me that it should be much cheaper than, her types of programs. But she hadn't ever invested in marketing branding, didn't really know much about branding or marketing. So first of all, she wasn't my ideal client. She was not the ideal person. It was a big lesson for me to get someone to beta test that would never be an ideal client, because she had no concept. She had no concept of brand and marketing. She had never invested and didn't actually intend to invest in marketing or branding. So that gives you an example. So her perceived value, and what was interesting, how she valued herself. And it's good, of course, to value yourself. But she was providing something that most people could get for free very easily. And she had this perceived value, but was perceiving my product and service from a different perspective. Where anyone else who has experience, has a lot of people that I know that have invested in a lot of marketing brand, always are surprised how much I give away. So everyone, when it's not your ideal client, they're not going to maybe see the value no matter what, right? Unless she probably would see that maybe now if she has went through and still struggled to grow her business and maybe did invest in a few things and realize, wait a minute, that's when sometimes it's experience. But we have to try and highlight that as much as possible. Now, the next thing is timing. So, timing for the client has to be important, because there is a lot goes on about people saying things like, well, if that person is not ready to invest, they don't want to solve that problem, or they don't want. But one of the things people have got to remember is timing can mean lots of things for different people. Timing can be commitment, a commitment period. So if you're asking someone to sign up for 12 weeks, that can be a lot of commitment, right? And again, it depends on how confident and how experienced you are, and they feel that what they're going to get out of the 12 weeks. Timing also is relevant to, there might be someone else promising them that they can have that solved in 4 weeks. You might not think they can, but maybe they do have something that can solve that problem in 4 weeks. Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's an implication. So it's really important to understand that timing can be for the client. It could be even the time of day that you're offering it. They want to do their lives, they want the support, but the time of day is not suitable. They've got children, have they got something else? Or you may be, for example, a lot of my paying clients are actually mostly American, sometimes they're Canadian. Of course, I get a lot of UK because I'm based in the UK and I know a lot of people, but the biggest investors are often international, right? The UK. So I sometimes have a challenge just to do with different things in my life and my own, my routine and my lifestyle, is having to, work out the times. So, it's trying to figure out the times when I'm going to get that audience, right? And accommodate the audience that are willing to pay. But it's so important that you are looking at the times that audience is going to be able to attend. There's no point you running something at a time where, if it's safer, it's single mums, and those single mums are bringing their kids in from school, or they're feeding them dinner. That's, you've not got the timing right. So there can be lots of things. Also, sometimes the seasons, looking at, if you're running things, looking at the time of year where you're running something. I've been approached quite a few times by an organizer. Well, it's like someone who runs events. And there's quite a lot of prominent people in her events that she runs. But every time she's approached me, it's a time of year where I have my own promotion and I'll usually launch something. And what is expected to take part in this summit, this event, is quite a lot of promotion between it. And it would be too much to run alongside my audience. It wouldn't be aligned with my business ethics and values and how I do things. It would be too much promotion. It wouldn't be, obviously you're supposed to, when you do these things, it's about playing fair. And if everybody's doing things, you have to align with that. But the timing's always been wrong for me and my business and for my audience. And I also recognise that there is some types of things at certain times a year that are going to tend to sell better than others. It's not that they can't sell, but sometimes it's about using your time and energy wisely. And sometimes businesses don't think that, but these are things that are important factors to consider, right? As if you're putting a lot of work in something, some things they don't take a lot of time to prepare. They don't take a lot of money to do behind the scenes, but there's other types of programs when we create a coaching program or something that maybe requires a lot of time, a lot of editing, right? A lot of maybe creating, presentations and things, which involves a lot of time, and you have to be more organized, and you want to make sure that you're going to get enough audience that is going to be worthwhile and it's actually going to convert into profit, not loss, right? So it's really, really important that you consider these things. So going back to first thing, obviously alignment. It's not just about you focusing on, of course it has to start with you focusing on what you offer, your greatest skills, your greatest level of experience and things that are going to be more aligned, making sure that you're aligned, right? And that you're running a soul aligned business is about it's mostly here and in the soul. It's being soul aligned and being able to align with your greatest gifts and skills, right? And showing up as you, so that you're going to attract more people that are really attracted to you and your business and the solution that you're offering, right? So it's getting that right. It's always recognizing also that person, it has to feel right for that person. I've had so many experiences where people have tried to persuade me and to buying from them when I knew it wasn't right for me. And there was almost a desperation and, a real desperation coming from them. And that's often the wounded healer of the ego showing up, okay? So the second one, well, I think I went into, so we'll go the nurturing, that's what I talked about as the second one, nurturing. You're always building connection with your audience. But the third one is, and it really should have been two, is having a clear message. Your brand, your colors, your energy, your font, so many things should have a message that aligns with your offering and makes your audience see very quickly, if you're the type of business that they're looking for or products and services that they're looking for, right? Now, obviously delivering it how they want it delivered. One example also I never mentioned is when you're delivering something, it can be to do with sometimes age and people's computer skills. I learned this very early on. I've been doing online stuff for 20 years. Well, I've been doing it for 23 years, but what I mean, I started selling actually online digital products over 20 years ago. And some people are just not that techy. So there's certain platforms and certain ways that you deliver is going to be more awkward for certain people. So it's important that you cannot recognize who's more likely to be your audience. And for that reason, if, someone's over 70, they may struggle with certain things, right? And may find it difficult. And that sometimes can end up causing you a lot of problems in your business. I've been there when people sign up for a course, but also expect you to educate them how to use a computer to open files. And you end up spending more of your time in your business trying to help them with PC skills, digital skills that's got nothing to do with the course, or them come back and forward and saying that there's something wrong, but it's because they don't know how to open something, then you have a problem. So it's things you have to sometimes consider, right? Perceived value, making sure that you are educating your audience of what, your perceived value, so that they have an understanding why something is worth something, but also understanding that every type of client or audience will see something, will look at the value very different. It's like I've invested in a lot of things that have cost me a lot of money, and people have said it's worth something, and I did not believe it was worth that at all. I found it was worth very little. I've also invested in things that cost me very little, that have been hugely, and they could have sold it 10, 20, 100 times more, right? We have a lot of distortions in the holistic and spiritual perspective from that, and it can be also relevant. It's like sometimes I understand it's like I could bring on an advanced healer to a group, but people that have never experienced healing wouldn't know the difference, or someone that's only dabbled in a few types of healing modalities, or is not took their healing to, they've only done certain things. They may not recognize, or if someone's not energetically sensitive enough, they cannot pick up the difference. And that's again to do with perceived value, right? Timing, recognizing, getting your timing right for your audience, when it's going to be suitable. The timing can be do with seasonal, it can be do with timing in relation to when you're running it, how long you're running it for. All these factors are really, really important. So if you're struggling to convert your audience, or you're getting a lot of rejection, maybe in discovery calls or something, these are really important factors to consider, right? And it's always about not taking things personally. If you're taking things personally, it's your ego. We're here to help people. We're here to support people, but it's important that the person feels it feels right for them. And for all sorts of reasons, sometimes a product or service does not feel right at the time, or is not fit for them. And it's about taking the ego out. It's so, so important. So I hope this has helped. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.